Hey there, and happy Friday. Well, I guess it's not Friday for you. It's this is the Thursday one. It's Friday for me. I'm recording this on a Friday, if that matters. And who knows? Maybe you saved this one and you're watching it on a Friday, so it could be Happy Friday. It's Friday somewhere, right? That's the saying. It's Common Knowledge, the show where I take a look at 10 common Magic the Gathering cards and tell you if they're any good in the Pauper format or not. Let's see what our first card of the day is. It's Soaring Hope. 4 and a white for an enchantment aura that enchants a creature. When this aura enters, you gain 3 life. Enchanted creature has flying, and you can pay a white to put this aura on top of its owner's library. We've talked a lot about auras that, or ways of getting around the downsides of auras. Auras, as we've discussed, are, when you try to cast one on a creature, your opponent can kill the creature. The aura goes away as well because it has no target anymore, and it doesn't feel like a 2-for-1. It is a 2-for-1. Your opponent used 1 card to take away 2 of your cards. That's not great. And it's especially not great when you are playing auras that cost 5 whole mana. And that's that can be a big tempo loss as well as a big card loss. So I generally don't like expensive auras unless they can do something really interesting. And this one doesn't really here. When it enters, you gain 3 life. That is fine, but that doesn't really justify the 5 mana cost. Enchanted creature has flying. We have that on auras that cost 1 or 2 mana only. Why would we pay 5 mana for that? And I guess it's interesting that this has this activated ability, pay a white and put the aura on top of its owner's library. Okay, that's a way of saving your aura if you are able to get it attached to the creature and then your opponent goes to kill the creature now, which would also be a 2-for-1 at that point. This does give you a chance to respond and save the aura. But it goes back on top of your library. So now you're time ebbing yourself and really losing a lot of tempo just to recast another 5-drop aura. I mean, I guess it's continuing to gain you life, and I suppose also what you could do is attack with your creature that has flying, and then at the end of your opponent's turn, you can pay the mana, put this on top of your library, then draw this and cast this again and keep gaining 3 life each turn while giving your creature flying. I guess that's a thing you could do, but this is just so expensive. If this was 2 mana to put this on a creature, I think we could have a potential conversation with it. I do like the idea of a continual life engine this way. You'd miss out on the card draw because you'd keep drawing this as your card per turn, but at least you'd have something. Oh boy, I think this is really, really bad. And I'm going to give it a really, really bad score of a 1.3. One of the worst cards I've seen in a bit. What is our next card? Something good, I hope. Poison the Blade. 1 and a green for an instant. Target creature gains Death Touch until end of turn, and you draw a card. It's an okay combat trick. I mean, instant speed Death Touch is nice. It's really great to be able to kill, a 5/5 or a 6/5 on the opponent's side with your little 1/1. Just having a Death Touch, cool. And I love that it replaces itself. Drawing a card here seems relatively free. I don't mind it as a combat trick. We have better combat tricks out there. We have, I believe in green specifically, is it Horrid Vigor from, is it from Duskmourn or is it from Tarkir Dragonstorm? I think it's Dragonstorm. Nope, it's Duskmourn. Horrid Vigor gives your creature Death Touch and Indestructible until end of turn. That's even better. Now you're not even losing your creature, but you're not drawing the card off of this. So I think you can have an argument of which one's better for your specific situation, a Horrid Vigor or a Poison the Blade. I suppose if you have a lot of little tokens, Poison the Blade's pretty good. If you have a big creature that you really care about keeping, Horrid Vigor might be the play instead. And also Horrid Vigor works as a protection spell as well as a removal spell, and that's pretty cool too. So I don't really know where I'd put Poison the Blade then with all that consideration. This isn't a card I would probably play. Green has a lot of other good ways of drawing cards that I don't really care about the card draw part of this. I mean, hey, drawing a card on a spell is always a good thing, and drawing a card for just 2 mana with an extra effect is solid too. But I don't know. When it comes to like taking up a whole card slot in your deck, this is just a little too normal of a combat trick. I don't particularly love it. I'm still going to give it like a 3, but it could be better. Next up is Disciple of Phanax. 2 and double black for a 1/3 human cleric. When this creature enters, target player reveals a number of cards from their hand equal to your devotion to black. You choose one of them. That player discards that card. And your devotion is each black pip, each skull black symbol here. In the mana cost of the permanents that you control counts towards your devotion to black. Mono black devotion is a deck in Pauper. We see it played in this format, and it's something that you usually will end up playing with Gary or Gray Merchant of Asphodel here, which also cares about devotion to black, and that's a big finisher. This is a great card. It was a common in the original Theros, so it gets played in Pauper. This is a fantastic card and kind of the signature piece to Mono Black Devotion. This is not a signature piece to Mono Black Devotion, but it's not bad. A 1/3 for 4 mana does feel pretty awful. I don't think that's very good. But this can often make your opponent at the very least has to reveal 2 cards from their hand. But you could easily get this to every card in their hand. If you, all it takes is a couple of creatures with some black pips on them, or it doesn't even have to be creatures. It could be artifacts, a blood crypt, or not blood crypt, a blood fountain on turn 1. There's a lot of stuff that can get black pips on the table pretty quickly to just make your opponent reveal their whole hand. And the other nice thing about this card, it's your opponent's revealing a number of cards from their hand equal to their devotion to black, and you get to discard one. You get to discard any one of them, including lands. That is one thing that black generally doesn't get to do when they're choosing cards. You can't force an opponent to discard their land when you choose. Things like duress and divest will say non-land cards. Pilfer would say non-land cards. Generally, Wizards doesn't like disrupting your opponent's hand in that way. But with this, you can. If that's one of the cards they choose as one that you can discard, you're allowed to discard it. And if you have a devotion high enough that they have to reveal their entire hand, they might give you that land, or they would have to give you that land if there's one in their hand, and you could take that away if you wanted to, or their best spell, whichever one you want. So that I don't mind. I also like that once this is on the board, it is a really good blink target. Being able to just blink this and get the extra value out of it, and forcing them into more specific discards like that, even instant speed discards at that point, if you can instantly blink this, that's pretty cool. Would this be good in a mostly black deck that splashes just a little bit for ephemerate? You see Mono Black Devotion splash just slightly into white to be able to use ephemerate with the Gray Merchant of Asphodel. You could totally do the same thing with this. So the question is this card good enough to show up in Mono Black Devotion, the deck that would want this? And I think the answer is no. And it is just that it's too expensive and that the creature itself isn't really good. If this was, I don't know, even if this was a 1/4 and it wouldn't be lightning boltable, I think I could give it more of I could be more enthusiastic about it. But it just being a 1/3 that doesn't really do anything once it's on the table, I don't love. It reminds me, just that stat line reminds me of another card, which is the Disciple of Bolas. That's what it is. No, not Disciple of Bolas. Augur. Augur of Bolas. That's what I'm thinking. It's, Bolas has a lot of things under his control. Augur of Bolas also has that 1/3 stat line and has this enters trigger, and it's a really nice enters trigger. This sees play all the time in Pauper, but this card costs 2 mana. This card costs 4 mana, and that's a little rough. That is a little rough. I like the effect. I like the card. I just don't think it's quite good enough to go in the deck that really would want it, and that's the only deck that would want it. So we're going to end up giving this a 2.8. I could... I just don't think it's 3 territory. I'll go up to 2.9, but not going to go into a 3. Next is Ice Ridge Serpent, 4 and a blue for a 3/3 Serpent. When this creature enters, return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. Is this good? Not particularly. 5 mana for a 3/3. That's never going to feel good. Even in blue, I think you can do... blue has better creatures than this. And then you get the... I mean, what is this? A Mana War effect, right? Is Mana War any permanent? Or not any permanent, non-land permanent, or is it just creature? It's creature. Okay, so you get a Mana War effect. Mana War can target your own creatures, which is kind of cool. But yeah, Ice Ridge Serpent is kind of just a Mana War, but a bigger one. Because a Mana War is a 2/2 for 3. This is a 3/3 for 5. I just don't think that's a very good deal. I think I'd rather play Mana War at that point than play Ice Ridge Serpent, even though 3/3 does seem like a better stat line. I really just don't want to pay 5 mana for that. That's kind of wild. I remember getting some copies of this at my Tarkir Dragonstorm pre-release and going, this is bad. This is just not a very good card. And if it's not even a good card in Limited, it's really not going to be a good card in Pauper. I'm going to go with a 2.2 for the Ice Ridge. Chosen by Heliod is 1 and a white. We're getting a lot of Theros cards today. 1 and a white for an enchantment aura that enchants a creature. When this aura enters, you draw a card, and enchanted creature gets +0/+2. The best thing about this is that it replaces itself by drawing a card. That's not enough. It is just the best thing about this card, but I don't think it makes the card good at all. This only getting a defense boost is not great. It's not even at flash speed, and I think that would be pretty necessary for making this card okay. If you could flash this in and keep your creature alive from a lightning bolt, or just flash it in at the end of an opponent's turn and be able to draw a card in white, that could be kind of cool. But this is way too normal of a Magic card otherwise, and that's really going to hurt it. And I think we'll go with like a... I'll give it a 2. It does draw a card, but it's really not very good outside of drawing that card. Next is Boots of Speed. Single red mana for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has haste, and it equips for 1. This is probably the closest thing that the Pauper format gets to... Oh, what are they called? Like not Lightning Greaves, although it does bear a little resemblance to Lightning Greaves or Swiftfoot Boots. But I'm thinking of the one from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. I guess we can just look it up that way. Is it uncommon equipment from Outlaws? And we'll find it that way. Lava Spur Boots, that's the one I'm thinking of, which is also just 1 mana for 1/0 and haste, but this also gives Ward 1, and it's also colorless, where this one has a red for it. So you're not getting the Ward 1, and only red decks can play this, and that does make a big difference. I think the Lava Spur Boots is a really good card that you see be played in Standard and Commander and some other places. Boots of Speed, not really. I mean, it's okay though. I don't hate it. +1/+0 and haste, and being able to put that on every single creature that you play, and you're kind of just adding 1 mana to any creature that you cast, because then you'd pay that 1 mana to then put the boots on this and give it haste and give it a little power boost, and that's all right. I don't hate it. I just think you probably have better ways of going about doing that. There are probably better ways, but I don't mind this card. Yeah, I actually don't mind this card. I'm going to give it a 3.3 because I think there is some potential here. It is all extremely cheap, and I like that. Yeah, 3.3. Next is Shatter, classic classic Magic card from. Is this all the way back from Alpha? I feel like Shatter's an original card. Yeah, Shatter all the way back from Alpha. You can buy a copy for $50. I wouldn't. This is not a very good card. Shatter is 1 in red for an instant. Destroy target artifact. That's all it does. Um, at this point, we just have so many spells that can, naturalize effects, disenchant effects, that for the same mana value, you get an instant that destroys an artifact or an enchantment, and that's generally going to be better. I know this is a red card. Red doesn't really destroy enchantments, so that's why this is what this is. But we have so many other Shatter variants these days in the Pauper format that Shatter itself is not a very good card. I do want to look at the arts for Shatter. Ooh, I like that Ice Age Shatter art. That's cool. I don't think I've ever seen that one. I've definitely seen this one. Is that 5th edition? Yeah, I guess that's 5th. I don't remember the 6th edition one. I definitely remember the 7th. They brought this one back for the Deck Masters. Ooh. Despite how much Mirrodin I played, I do not remember that art from Mirrodin or that card. Shatter's a cool card. I like Shatter. It's not good though. And if you want to play a card that's like Shatter, but actually would be played in the Pauper format, Siege Smash is your card. Same mana cost, same instant speed. In fact, even better than instant speed because it has split second and it can destroy a target artifact. That's just what Shatter does. Or it also has this other mode, which is quite good. Siege Smash does see some sideboard play because specifically because of the split second. It's really good about taking out cards like Relic of Progenitus or Tormod's Crypt and things like that, because they won't be able to respond to this being cast because of the split second. That's really useful if you have a graveyard strategy that matters to you. If you've have one of those discard 1 draw 2s and you're trying to get a sneaky snacker back and your opponent is trying to put out a Relic of Progenitus to stop you, well, you can Siege Smash it before they get a chance to, and then that destroys their artifact and you get to keep your graveyard. This can also work in Dredge. It's a solid card, and it's just way better than Shatter. Strictly better than Shatter in every conceivable way. Ooh, yeah. I think Shatter has to get like a 2. It's kind of a grizzly bear at that point, not just because it costs 2 mana, but classic Magic card, generally fine, but not exceptional in any way. And that's where we land on Shatter today. Next up is Wall of Heat. Oh, Wall of Heat. This is not a very good card, but I love it anyway. Wall of Heat is 2 in a red for a 2/6 wall with Defender, because it's a wall. Originally from Legends, but has had the same art the whole time. Because why would it have any other art? This Richard Thomas art is so good. I love old walls. They're one of my favorite subsets of Magic cards, is just old wall cards. Wall of Stone. Big fan of Wall of Stone. These old versions of Wall of Stone look really good. I like this one, but this was my art of Wall of Stone. Wall of Fire looked really good. There's so many good old walls, just from a complete strict art sense. This thing's gorgeous. I love that. Card itself is bad. 3 mana for a 2/6. That's quite a bit of toughness for a 3 mana creature. But when all it does is just sit there, doesn't even block things with flying. I mean, heat rises, right? I feel like a Wall of Heat probably would stop flyers, but I guess not in this case. Wall of Heat, not a very good card. I will begrudgingly give it a. I guess I got to give it a 2. I really wanted to give it a 2.1, but I think it's just a 2. Just as good as a Shatter. Bummer. Cool card though. This will absolutely be our art of the day. I can't imagine any art being better than this that we'll see. Protective Sphere, isn't it? Oh God, it had to be a Rebecca card, right? Like that's that one does hurt a little bit. That man, I do like Rebecca as an artist. I still am going with the Wall of Heat though. Protective Sphere is 2 and a white for an enchantment. You can pay 1 and pay 1 life to prevent all damage that would be dealt to to you this turn by a source of your choice that shares a color with the mana spent on this activation costs. Huh. And colorless mana prevents no damage. That's interesting. I mean, it does say shares a color, and colorless is not a color. So that's how Wizards has gotten around that. I kind of think that if you paid generic mana, you're paid colorless mana specifically, you probably should be able to prevent colorless damage, but that's just not the way the rules really work. This is not great because I mean, this is a white card, obviously, but you have to have all these different colors of mana available to you, which I guess isn't the hardest thing to do. You have like Prophetic Prism or Bonder's Ornament or any sort of rock that can make mana of any color. You have mana dorks that can make a mana of any color. You could just play a lot of different colors in your deck and make something like this. Treasure tokens could give you mana of it, whatever color you need. I guess that's okay. We've seen Circular Protections be somewhat used in this format, but the real problem here is this is 3 mana. All those Circular Protection effects are 2 mana, and they're just cheaper and better that way. You also have to pay the life, which I get. You don't want to just make this strictly the best color protection or Circular Protection kind of card. So you are making it a little bit worse to also make it a little bit more versatile. Not a very good card. I think I'm going to give it a 2.2. 2.2 on that one. Torpid Moloch is a single red mana for a 3/2 lizard with Defender, and you can sacrifice 3 lands to have this creature lose Defender until end of turn. You know, there's something kind of cool about being able to play a 3/2 on turn 1. That's a big creature. Having it have Defender obviously is bad because then you won't be able to use that high power on turn 1. But you are stopping opponents from attacking for a little bit because they know they'll either die to this or at least trade with this. And so they're going to be a little worried about putting a creature on the board. Unless it flies, I guess. But what you can do with a card like this is do power matters kind of stuff. If you're able to have, you're in red, so you don't really need to use bite and fight effects, but this is a really good card to use with bite and fight effects, especially bite effects. That now you have this 3 power that is able to bite something, and you only had to pay a single mana to put this on the board. That's kind of cool. This is really good at crewing vehicles. Think about that. If you have a vehicle that needs crew 3, but it's like a 6/6 vehicle. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head, and I'm coming up blank, but there are some big vehicles out there. This thing can tap and crew those. This thing can tap and station things like the Pinnacle Kill Ship. This can get you 3 station counters on that. That's really good. This can saddle creatures if you want to use that. That's not bad. There's a lot of cool things that you can do with this. It's also a lizard, which might be able to help you in certain situations if you're doing some kind of type strategy. There's something to this card. It's not a great card. You'd have to have a very specific kind of deck to make this work. But I kind of don't hate it. Getting that much power for a single mana, even if you don't get to attack with it, is still something kind of valuable. I'm gonna go ahead and give this thing a 2.7. And just like keep it in your back pocket. If we get a really good vehicle that's in the Pauper format that you can do something with, this might be a card to consider. There have to be other creatures that are single mana for 3 power that probably just end up being better than this, but this isn't that terrible. Even if you're not using the sacrifice 3 lands part, I'm just not considering the sacrifice 3 lands part. That is so many lands just to get 3 damage in. Nah, not for me. But just a 1 mana 3/2, I'm kind of cool with it. Let's get a bonus card and call it a day. Death's Caress is 3 and double black for a sorcery. Destroy target creature. If that creature was a human, you gain life equal to its toughness. I don't like this at all. I don't like it at all. It's 5 mana to destroy a creature. We just have cheaper ways of doing that, whether it's straight up murder as 1 and double black, We've got the banana and anchovy pizza, or anchovy and banana pizza, which is that on an artifact that can be bounced. We have other ways of forcing opponents to sacrifice, or even just using cast down, which is not unrestricted creature kills, but pretty unrestricted in the Pauper format. So we just have better kill spells than this. This is also its sorcery speed, which I really, really don't like for a removal spell. And then forcing, not forcing, but you need you're banking on the opponent to pick the right creature types for their creatures. I guess that makes sense in something like Dark Ascension when there are a lot of humans in that set. But if you're not, we're in Pauper. We have all the sets available to us. And while human is the most common creature type, it's not going to be all the creatures that you face. So you're not always going to get this effect. In fact, I'm going to say you're probably rarely going to get this effect. And even when you do, there aren't a ton of giant humans. Humans, I would say, tend to be like somewhere between 1 and 3 power for the most part. Then, not to say there aren't big humans or that you can put +1/+1 encounters on humans and make them big, but generally, you're going to pay 5 mana to destroy a creature. And if it's a human, maybe you gain a life or 2. And I just think that's really bad. I think this is a really bad card, overcosted, and you just overcosted, narrow, slow. These are things that do you no favors in this rating of Pauper cards. And this one I think is so bad that despite being a removal spell, it's going to have to dip into the ones, which I generally don't like doing for removal spells because they're just generically good. This one is pretty egregious to the point that I'm going to give this a 1.4. Bad card. Anyway, thanks for joining me on this Thursday, even though it's Friday for me. And I'll see you on what is Friday for you, but will still be Friday for me because I'm going to record it right now. So whatever. See ya.